Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to another lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about IELTS Writing Task 2. We are going to focus on how to write an opinion essay. In the previous lesson, we learned how to write the introduction. We saw that in the introduction, the examiner is looking for the background statement and the thesis statement. If you want to know how to write the introduction of this particular essay, then I recommend that you watch that video on how to write the introduction. Before we begin our lesson, I would like to give you some information about IELTS Writing Task 2. The first thing that is important to remember is that you get 40 minutes to write your Task 2. You are expected to write more than 250 words. If you're aiming for a band 8 or a band 9, then you need to write more than 300 words. Between 300 and 310 words, because remember, you only have 40 minutes. It is also important to know that your Task 2 is worth about 66% of your total writing marks. You will be marked on task response, that is how well you respond to all the parts of the questions without going off topic. You will also be marked on coherence and cohesion, that is how you develop your ideas, how you organize your paragraphs, how you use linking words to develop your ideas. You will also be marked on vocabulary and grammar. The other thing that is important to remember is that your Task 2 is a formal essay. You could get essays of different types. For example, an opinion essay, a discussion essay, an advantage, disadvantage essay, a direct question essay, or a solution essay. In my channel, I have uploaded videos on all the different types of essays that you could get for Task 2. If you want to learn more about that, have a look at my playlist on Writing Task 2. I also have videos about Writing Task 1, so have a look at my playlist on Writing Task 1 if you want to see the videos. And of course, I have videos on IELTS Speaking Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. So have a look at my playlists and I guarantee you that you will find so many helpful videos that will help you to get a high band. Now let's get into our lesson, but before we do that, remember to subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up if you find it helpful, and share the video on all your social media platforms. I have shared this video with you with so much love, so share the video with other people so that they can also benefit from the channel. Now let's get into our lesson. What is the first thing that you're supposed to do when you get your test? The first thing that you need to do is read the question and make sure that you understand it. We call that unloading the question. Identify all the parts of the question. Let's begin analyzing this question together. The development of tourism has contributed to English becoming the most distinguished language in the world. Some people think this will lead to English becoming the only language to be spoken worldwide. To what extent do you agree? There are three parts to this question. The first one is the development of tourism has contributed to English becoming the most distinguished language in the world. What this means is that English has become very, very famous. It has become very prominent because of the development of tourism. That is the first part. The second part of the statement is that some people think this will lead to English becoming the only language to be spoken worldwide. So what the second part of the question means is that because English has become so widely used due to tourism, due to the spread of tourism all over the world, English has become very distinguished. And because of that, some people think that in the future, English will become the only language to be spoken worldwide. The key word there is only language. So in future, English will become the only language spoken worldwide as tourism continues to spread. The question is, to what extent do you agree? Do you agree that in the future, people will only be speaking English because of the development of tourism? Do you agree with that? So the question is, to what extent do you agree? Now, that means you either totally agree or totally disagree or agree and disagree. You have three options. You can agree 100%. 2. You can disagree 100%. 3. You can agree and disagree. So you have three choices. As we saw in the thesis statement, I always recommend my students that you either agree or disagree. Don't agree and disagree at the same time. That complicates your essay. You only have 40 minutes to write a formal essay. It's not a lot of time. So don't complicate your life. So simply agree or disagree. And if you wish, you can agree and disagree at the same time. But that will make your essay very complex. So once you have decided whether you're going to agree or disagree, or both, then the next thing you have to do is write your introduction. In your introduction, the examiner is looking for the background statement and the thesis statement. You want to learn more about that, then have a look at my previous video on how to write the introduction. After you have written the introduction, then you need to write the rest of the essay. Remember, your writing task 2 should be 4 paragraphs. The introduction, body paragraph 2, body paragraph 3, and the conclusion. So what should you put in body paragraph 2? And what should you put in body paragraph 3? In body paragraph 2, you're supposed to write about agreeing. In body paragraph 3, you're supposed to write about disagreeing. And in the conclusion, you're supposed to repeat your opinion. So body paragraph 3 is supposed to be about one side of the argument. And body paragraph 3 is supposed to be the other side of the argument. So in body paragraph 2, you agree with a statement that in the future, English will become the only language to be spoken worldwide. And in body paragraph 3, you write about the opposite of that, which is disagreeing. Basically saying that in the future, English will not become the only language to be spoken worldwide. So in body paragraph 3, you agree. In body paragraph 2, you disagree. Now let me show you how to do that. Because you are also expected to answer the last part of the question, to what extent do you agree? Extent means, do you fully agree? Or do you fully disagree? Or do you agree and disagree? So, in my case, I totally disagree with this argument. I do not believe that in the future, English will be the only language to be spoken worldwide. I don't believe that. So I disagree with this argument. I disagree with the people that think that in the future, English will be the only language to be spoken. I don't agree with that. So I begin writing body paragraph 3 with the opinion of the people who agree. So in body paragraph 2, I'm going to agree with a statement. I'm going to write about the viewpoint of the people who think that in the future, English will be the only language spoken. And so I begin with the words, on the one hand, because I'm going to talk about one side of the argument. So, on the one hand, comma, some individuals. Some people. Individuals here means some people. On the one hand, some individuals hold the view means think. Remember, this is a Band 9 essay, so I have to use advanced vocabulary. On the one hand, some individuals means people, hold the view. Hold the view means think. That in the future, English will become the only language spoken globally due to a rapid growth in tourism internationally. So that is one point of view, which is IELTS statement. The development of tourism has contributed to English becoming the most distinguished language in the world. Some people think this will lead to English becoming the only language to be spoken worldwide. So, in body paragraph 2, I am writing about that particular point of view. So, after that, I have to give some reasons as to why certain people think that in the future, English will become the only language to be spoken worldwide. In their opinion, through the use of those words, in their opinion, I am making it very clear that it's not my opinion. In their opinion, this is because. So I use the linking word because to introduce the reason. In their opinion, this is because a widespread use of the internet has made it easier for people to search for and book their holidays in tourist destinations all over the world, even in countries where the natives do not speak English. As a result, these locals will be compelled to learn English to communicate with the tourists, which will increase the English-speaking population globally. So I have given reasons to support the argument that some people have that English will become the only language spoken worldwide in the future. This is because a widespread use of the internet has made it easier for people to search for and book their holidays in tourist destinations all over the world, even in countries where the natives do not speak English. So because of the use of the internet, it is now very easy for you to search for and book your holiday in tourist destinations all over the world, even in countries where the natives are the locals, the people who live there, do not speak English. And as a result, these locals, so if you book your holiday in a country where people do not speak English, and that's the only language that you speak, the people who live there will be compelled. Compelled means forced. They will be forced to learn English so that they can be able to communicate with the tourists who don't speak their mother tongue. And because of that, there will be an increase in the English-speaking population globally. So as tourists continue to visit countries where their native language is not spoken, for example, if you are an English-speaking tourist coming from England and you decide to go to a country where they don't speak English at all, then the people who live in that country will be forced to learn English so that they can communicate with the tourists. And because of that, the English-speaking population will increase as more tourists continue to visit countries where their mother tongue is not spoken. So the people are forced to learn English so that they can be able to communicate with the tourists. For example, if you choose to go on a holiday to Egypt and you only speak English, the Egyptians will be forced to learn English so that they can be able to communicate with the tourists. The same thing will happen if you speak English and you're a tourist and you want to visit, for example, China. Chinese people will be forced to learn English so that they can communicate with the tourists who come to their country who don't speak Chinese. And if that continues happening, then the English-speaking population all over the world is going to increase. So the people who believe that in the future the only language that will be spoken worldwide will be English may put this argument forward. So in body paragraph 2, I have tried to talk about the people who think English will become the only language spoken worldwide, and I have given reasons as to why such people argue that. And now I'm going to move on to body paragraph 3. In body paragraph 3, I am going to disagree with a statement. In body paragraph 2, I agreed with the statement. In body paragraph 2, I wrote about agreeing with a statement. And then in body paragraph 3, I am going to directly respond to IELTS question. To what extent do you agree? Now, in body paragraph 3, I am going to write about my personal opinion. And my personal opinion is the opposite of the opinion in body paragraph 2. So I am going to make it very clear to the examiner that I am about to start talking about my opinion, because I am going to use the words personally. I totally disagree with this argument. Because the question is, to what extent do you agree? I totally disagree. Okay? So make sure that you use those words. That's why I've written the words for you in red. Personally, I totally, meaning 100%, I totally disagree with this argument. That is the argument I have discussed in body paragraph 2. The argument that in the future, English will become the only language spoken globally. I totally disagree with that argument. So I begin with the words personally. I totally disagree with this argument. Do not forget the words totally disagree. Totally, very important, because it means you are responding directly to the question extent. To what extent? Totally. Okay? So personally, I totally disagree with this argument, since we have other prominent languages all over the world that are spoken in numerous touristic destinations apart from English. So that is my first reason as to why I disagree with the argument that I have discussed in body paragraph 2. I totally disagree with it because we have other prominent languages all over the world that are spoken in numerous touristic destinations apart from English. And then I'm going to elaborate that further. In Spanish-speaking countries, for example, majority of the locals are bilingual, making it easier to communicate with both English-speaking and Spanish-speaking tourists. For that reason, the English language is not spoken there predominantly. So in Spanish-speaking countries, majority of the locals are bilingual. Bilingual means that you speak 2 languages. And because of that, it's easier to communicate with both English-speaking and Spanish-speaking tourists. And for that reason, the English language is not spoken there predominantly. So the people who live there, they don't have to speak English predominantly, because they do not simply receive tourists who speak English. They also receive tourists who speak Spanish. Okay? For that reason, the English language is not spoken there predominantly. In that part of the world, some people will speak English, some people will speak Spanish. So in the future, English will not become the only language that is spoken there, because the locals also speak Spanish. And then I'm going to move on to the second point to support my point of view. So I introduce that point using the linking word moreover. Moreover, we have tourists who only choose to visit countries where their native language is spoken. A French-speaking tourist, for instance, may decide to only visit tourist destinations such as France, making it unnecessary to learn English. As a consequence, French in this case will take the first position and not English. So the second point to prove why I believe very strongly that in the future English will not be the only language spoken worldwide is because we have tourists who choose to visit countries where their native language is spoken. For example, a French-speaking tourist, that should be tourists, not tourists, so remove the S at the end. A French-speaking tourist, for instance, may decide to only visit touristic destinations such as France, making it unnecessary to learn English. And as a consequence, French in this case will take the first position and not English. So when you have tourists who choose to only visit countries where their native language is spoken, for example, if you're Chinese, you decide, I will only go on holiday in China. If you're Spanish, you decide, I will only go to Spanish countries as a tourist. Then you will not need to learn any English, because when you go to those tourist destinations, they speak your mother tongue. If, let's say, for example, you speak Arabic, Arabic is your mother tongue, you can decide, I will only go on holiday in Arab countries. And for that reason, you will not need to learn English at all. So that's how you write body paragraph 2 and body paragraph 3. In body paragraph 2, write about one opinion. In body paragraph 3, write about the second opinion. But while you're doing that, make sure that you make it very clear to the examiner which opinion you support. I repeat that. In body paragraph 2, write about one opinion. In body paragraph 3, write about the second opinion. But make sure while you do that, you make it very clear to the examiner which side you support. Begin the paragraph where you want to answer to what extent do you agree. Begin with the words, personally, I totally disagree with this argument that, okay? So I would personally recommend begin with a paragraph that does not have your opinion. And then in body paragraph 3, write about your opinion so that you can say, personally, I totally disagree with this argument. This argument meaning the argument that you have discussed in body paragraph 2. Now, what about if you agree with this statement? If you agree with this statement, then you can write body paragraph 2 about that. So you can say, I totally agree that in the future, English will become the only language spoken globally due to a rapid growth in tourism internationally. This is because a widespread use of the internet has made it easier for people to search for and book their holidays in tourist destinations all over the world, even in countries where the natives do not speak English. As a result, these locals will be compelled to learn English to communicate with the tourists, which will increase the English-speaking population globally. So that's how you would write body paragraph 2 if you agree. Then when it comes to body paragraph 3, then you can say, on the other hand, some individuals hold the view that in the future, English will not become the only language spoken globally due to a rapid growth in tourism internationally. Okay? In Spanish-speaking countries, for example, majority of the locals are bilingual, making it easier to communicate with both English-speaking and Spanish-speaking tourists. For that reason, the English language is not spoken there predominantly. Okay? So, depending on whether you agree or disagree, if you agree, then make it very clear in body paragraph 2 that I am of the view, I totally agree, I totally agree that in the future, English will become the language spoken globally due to a rapid growth in tourism internationally. And then begin body paragraph 3 by saying, on the other hand, some individuals hold the view that English will not become the only language spoken worldwide. This is because there are other prominent languages all over the world that are spoken in numerous touristic destinations apart from English. So then you just repeat the same points. And then when it comes to the conclusion, you should finish up by saying, despite these arguments, I am fully convinced that English will dominate as the only language spoken globally because the world population is already dominated by English. Okay? So I am just trying to give you some ideas of what to say if you agree with a statement. Okay? Now, this brings me to the last part of the section of this lesson, where I'm just going to give you a recap of the points that are very important to take from this lesson as to how to approach this kind of question. The first thing is read the question, unpack it, unpack the question, because the question is made up of different parts. This question is made up of 3 parts. Once you have unpacked the question, then in your mind think, to what extent do you agree? Meaning, do you agree 100%? Or do you disagree 100%? Or do you agree and disagree? Once you have decided on that, then write your introduction. In your introduction, put your background statement and the thesis statement. Once you have done that, then write body paragraph 2. In body paragraph 2, write about one opinion supporting the statement, supporting IELTS statement. And then in body paragraph 3, write disagreeing with IELTS statement. But when you're doing that in one of the paragraphs, make it very clear what your personal opinion is. Begin with either, personally, I totally disagree with this statement, or personally, I agree with this statement that. And then make sure that you use linking words as I have done. On the one hand, some individuals, in their opinion, because as a result, I have underlined all the linking words for you in black. For example, for that reason, moreover, for instance, such as a consequence. And then let's look at the conclusion. What should you write in the conclusion? Remember, you have to link all your paragraphs. You have to link body paragraph 2 to body paragraph 3 and to the conclusion. How have I linked body paragraph 2 to body paragraph 3? I have linked them through the use of the word this argument. Personally, I totally disagree with this argument. Which argument? The argument I've talked about in body paragraph 2. So how am I going to link body paragraph 3 to the conclusion? I begin with, due to these reasons. Which reasons? The reasons that I gave in body paragraph 3. Due to these reasons, I am fully convinced that. Due to these reasons, the reasons you have been discussing in body paragraph 3, I am fully convinced that. It is very important that you use the word fully because it means it's 100%. Due to these reasons, I am fully convinced that, and then explain what you're convinced about. And that is, English will not. So in the conclusion, you are supposed to reinforce, repeat and reinforce your personal opinion. Due to these reasons, I am fully convinced that English will not dominate as the only language spoken globally. And then after that, you give your reason. And the reason that you give should be based on the ideas you have discussed in body paragraph 3. English will not dominate as the only language spoken globally because the world population is already dominated by other equally popular languages such as French and Spanish. So, the reason I have given as to why I am still fully convinced that English will not dominate as the only language spoken globally is a reason that I already discussed in body paragraph 3, and that is the world population is already dominated by other equally popular languages such as French and Spanish. So what should you put in your conclusion? Begin your conclusion with due to these reasons or for these reasons, and it should be the reasons you have just discussed in body paragraph 3, and then repeat your opinion. I am fully convinced that, and then explain what you're convinced about, which is your opinion. That is, English will not dominate as the only language spoken globally, and then give the reason. Summarize the reason that you discussed in body paragraph 3, and that is because the world population is already dominated by other equally popular languages such as French and Spanish. So 3 points to remember when you're writing your conclusion. First of all, link your conclusion to the previous paragraph. You can do that using the words due to these reasons or for these reasons. Point number 2 to remember when you're writing your conclusion, repeat your opinion, reinforce it. You can do that using the words, I am fully convinced that. Tip number 3, write what you're convinced about, and that is you repeating your opinion. English will not dominate as the only language spoken globally. And the final tip, give the reason as to why you are convinced that based on the ideas that you discussed in body paragraph 3, because the world population is already dominated by other equally popular languages such as French and Spanish. So there you go, my friends. That's how you write. That's how you write an opinion essay based on this question. Remember to have a look at the first video on how to write the introduction, where you have the background statement and the thesis statement. Then, in that case, you will have the complete Band 9 essay. Now, if you found this lesson helpful at all, then do not forget to give this video a thumbs up, share the video on all your social media platforms, and subscribe for more useful content. I will be uploading many more videos on IELTS Writing Task 2, also IELTS Writing Task 1, and of course videos on IELTS Speaking Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3. So if you don't want to miss any of those videos, then subscribe and turn your notification bell on so that when I upload a new video, you will be informed immediately. Now, thank you very much, and I will see you in our next lesson. Bye-bye.